What's up? It's another week of the Ball Hawk Sports Talk. You know what it is. The crew brings you sports, business, and entertainment. We ask you humbly every week to like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anybody that you know, and please subscribe both the podcast world and on our YouTube channel. The crew this week is excited. We are on the day of this recording, a day removed from the NFL draft. So we're going to be talking about some draft stuff. We're going to talk about some NBA playoff stuff, but we're going to talk about a whole lot more. So if you've never been a part of the experience that is the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, fasten your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. We're going to come to you in a few seconds. So again, get prepared. We do it rough, rugged, and raw. Another week of the Ball Hawk Sports Talk. Here we come. Let's go.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hawk Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. The spring season is in full bloom. And in spring, we got this NFL draft thing. So I'm excited about that. Hence, I got on my Cleveland Browns shirt. We did not have a draft pick last night, but that ain't going to stop me from celebrating this NFL draft. I am your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hawk, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, a.k.a. Mr. Excessive Celebration, a.k.a. Breezy. Here with the crew, starting off in Chicago, an hour behind us, but always on time. Your boy, the Big Flow Show. What up?
What's good, America?
And here in the East Coast with me, and unfortunately donning that hat shows where he's from, the mean bean streets of Boston, my man ETP Ellis the producer. That's why I get to mess with that Celtics. What's up, ETP?
Happy Friday. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday it is. And for those of you who are listening in podcast land, whatever day you might listen to this, we promise that it's going to be an intriguing, intellectual, inspiring, and ignorant show. That's how we do it. You know what I mean? We got some real intellectual ignorance here for you. Today's episode is one that we are calling Defending the Indefensible. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back row. This episode is entitled Defending the Indefensible. And so as we all get ready for May to come in, these April showers going to bring in May flowers. We going to defend the indefensible the only way we know how to do it. It's sports, business, and entertainment colliding. It's rough, rugged, and raw because that's how we bring it. The Ball Hawk Sports Talk. Here we go, y'all. Let's start off with the NFL draft. Like I said, the Cleveland Browns didn't have a pick, but we didn't have a pick for good reason. We didn't have a pick because it was a part of the trade that got us Deshaun Watson, that Deshaun Watson is going to be the human being at quarterback that's going to get us the Super Bowl, but I digress. Although we didn't have a pick, I still want to talk about the first round. And I know that the Chicago Bears, they didn't have a first-round pick either. So I don't know if you tuned in at all since y'all don't have a pick, Big Flow Show.
Yeah, I stayed in there. I wanted to see, what kind of defensive lineman went first. I got my little order. Hopefully the Bears get somebody. But shout out to Hamilton coming out from Notre Dame in the first round. We had to represent in the first round. But I still watch it. It's entertaining to me. And you know what? As a Bears realist, I had to say, at least we didn't ruin somebody's career by drafting them first. Because we've ruined many a person by picking them to the Bears. But don't worry, we'll mess it up today. Don't worry about it.
Touche, man. That's all right there. That's really being honest with who your organization has been. Hey, we're in the same boat. There's a whole article on first round draft pick the Cleveland Browns have selected, and where are they now? Let me just say, boy, it's not
Pumping
good.
gas.
It is not
Dealing
good.
cards.
That is a curse to be drafted by the Cleveland Browns in the first round. So I'm glad to know the Chicago Bears, y'all doing the same thing. Now let's get to the one team amongst the three of us that did have a first round pick. What's the team won all them championships way back when they were still relevant before the guy Tom Brady went down to
The Bengals?
What's the name of that team, man? Oh yeah, the Patriots. We forgot about y'all.
Long time ago, like 3 years ago.
Hey, I don't know, man. I don't know. That was so long ago. I don't know.
So long ago, you don't even have a clean Patriot hat. You had to wear a Celtics hat.
Yeah, he went with the Celtics, and then we understand why Celtics would have been the choice today. But yesterday, the Patriots, I think, had the most surprising pick of all in the first round. There were a lot of surprising picks, but the Patriots, in Bill Belichick fashion, put two fingers up on opposite hands. It's the one that's in the middle, and put two fingers up to all the experts, two fingers up to all the mock drafts, and they selected Cole Strange. And too many opportunities to use that man's last name to talk about the strange pick that was. But they did this from, where is he from? Chattanooga, Tennessee. And went to the Senior Bowl, had a good Senior Bowl, but nobody in their right mind thought that he would be a first-round pick. They traded down. I think they had the 21st pick. They traded down. The Patriots also needed a cornerback, but they decided to get interior lineman help. They do believe in protecting their quarterback. They got this Cole Strange in the first round. I know it's fresh, and I know we don't have a ton of information on this pick, and I know Bill Belichick has made this work time and time again, picking the person that nobody expected him to pick, making value where there was no value. But can you defend the indefensible here? Do you think it was a good pick? I'll throw it to you, ETP.
Look, man, it's Bill Belichick, and the one thing that you can guarantee will happen. I mean, I don't pay a lot of attention to the draft, but I always am curious as to what crazy moves Bill Belichick is going to make, because he always does something and it always works out. So people will scoff at this. You know, they're always active trading picks, moving around in the draft. This is just another one of those moves. I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't know enough about this player, but I'll be the last person to question what Bill Belichick does until
he get a blank check, though, man. That's what. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and be the mad rapper. Tell him why you mad, son. Bill Belichick just get a blank check at some point. Like, when
he earned the blank check. He earned it. It wears off when there becomes a trend of failure, right? Like, there's no trend of failure. Like, yeah, they might not overachieve or they might not achieve, but I mean, look, the man drafted Tom Brady. Like, and it's a classic meme of what his combine, photo looked like. So from that point forward, at the end of the day, every move that he's made, has had some positive impact. He doesn't win all the time, but they win a lot, and he makes he plugs the right players into the system that overachieve, and then they go elsewhere. Nobody leaves the Patriots and does better than when they were there. Tom Brady's the only one that's actually succeeded after leaving. So he has a system and he finds the right players. I don't know if he's got some type of brainwashing or evaluation process that's psychological, torture, but he knows how to pick the players that fit the system.
Can you give him credit for Tom Brady, though? If you really be honest, if he thought he was going to be the GOAT, you think he'd have drafted him in the 5th round or the 1st round?
No, but I think that's the thing, right?
He was in a yard sale, he picked up something, and it turned out to be valuable.
I mean, he didn't pick him thinking, I'm gonna put him on the field this season, right? It was Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe got injured in that Jets game, and Tom Brady had to step up, but he had some knowledge of his capability, or at least believed that he was able to step in.
Yeah, I mean,
it happened.
They
picked him. Like,
every one of those picks are valuable.
Pick him.
I'll give you that. Every one of those picks are valuable, and they did pick him. They used one of their picks on Tom Brady, but I think that, like, because of that, he's got this blank check forever. and a first round pick to trade down to the 29th pick to get someone that you could have got with probably I think they also have they've got a third round pick. I feel as though they really overpaid for someone they could have got later. We shall see, man. Only time will tell. I also say that while Bill Belichick deserves, that's right, I said it, deserves some of the credit, deserves the understanding that he gets with his draft picks. The way you described it is true, but it also could be understood a different way. I think he exhausts a lot of the players, and then they don't want to pay him. You know, they just basically passed on paying an interior lineman to protect Mac Jones. Who? Mac Jones. And then went and overpaid for this guy from Chattanooga, Tennessee. It just
overpaid with a what? With a rookie contract?
I mean, overpaid in the sense that those picks mean something. Each pick means something. Even rookie contract, but it's still each pick means something, right? Because the contract is structured based on where the pick is. So overpaid because they could have got him in the third round. But more importantly, overpaid because taking him in the first round means you don't get that corner that you need. That could be a lockdown guy for the next 10 years. For someone that, I think that they didn't have to spend all the money on them. And they did so because they, again, did not want to pay somebody. From an organization, a fan standpoint, that's great. From a player standpoint, we call it the Belichick way, but the Belichick way is also making sure he don't pay people.
You're right. But the flip side of it is you could say that they're underpaid, but there's literally nobody that has left the Patriots and has had a better career outside of the Patriots organization.
And they get paid.
Are they being underpaid? They get paid. They get their check when they go.
They get paid when they leave. They have to leave to get paid.
But they don't perform. But then they don't perform, right? So are they being underpaid or are they being valued, right?
Like, that's because their bodies all worn. That's because their bodies all worn down. Bill Belichick just, you know what? I'll take my compliment back. You know, to heck with Bill Belichick. Hater. I hope this pick don't work out. I can't stand the Patriots. I'm a hater. I'm the mad rapper. There, I said it. Yeah. How about that?
All right.
How about that?
He drafted Gronkowski. He drafted Edelman. He drafted what's his name? The big Wilfork. Like
Vince Wilfork.
He knows what he's doing. It's hard. It's hard to take that check away from him or give him take that pass away from him at this point.
Fair. I'm just hating on y'all at this point.
He drafted Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. Even that pick was one that surprised
and everybody was bugging out about it, right? But it seemingly worked out.
Well, I mean, to be determined. I mean, what's worth?
That's what I'm saying. I said,
if the Patriots way, you just talked about 3 years ago winning the Super Bowl. So if the Patriots way is winning, I don't know if it's really worked out. He hasn't been terrible, but you know, as a rookie, he definitely was not terrible. But it ain't a lot of, ain't no playoff wins and Super Bowls going on to Mac Jones so far. So what does worked out really mean?
You're right. Well, we'll see. That's what I mean. We'll see.
Next topic.
I know. You can't stand the Patriots too. I'm the same way. Let's get into some other, and I'll ask the audience before we get into some other sports news. I asked the audience because we only represent the three teams that we represent. We got the Patriots fan here who is standing behind Bill Belichick's insane decision to draft somebody that they hadn't seen. The boy balled out in the Senior Bowl. Guess what? Bill Belichick and his staff didn't even go to the Senior Bowl. At 7 years old, the luster might have finally worn off. Bill Belichick might be senile, man. You drafted somebody that you didn't even see. You weren't at the Senior Bowl. We got my man Big Flo Show, who is a Bears fan. I am a very proud Cleveland Browns fan. Glad we didn't have our first pick. Because it was a part of the Deshaun Watson trade. For all of you listening live in our live viewership, those of you participating, we always appreciate our live viewership. Let us know. Let us know what your team did in the draft last night. What do you think was the biggest surprise at last night's NFL first round draft? What do you think was the biggest storyline? For me, in this particular episode of Defending the Indefensible, it's worth mentioning. It's at least worth mentioning that this particular draft had the first 5 picks were defensive players. I think there's only been one other time that has happened. You look at the number of cornerbacks that were taken, and you just look at the commitment to defense. That's one story, and then the wide receivers, baby. It was a lot of wide receivers taken. So finally, the wide receivers got their just due. But it's showing where football is, and so sort of the idea of defending the indefensible is these offenses are putting up big points. You've got to come up with second to none athletes in order to defend against them, and that started from the very beginning. The first pick of the first round was someone that sort of surprised me, but I guess didn't surprise others because of his workouts. Trayvon Walker, the linebacker from Georgia. Only had, I think, 9 career sacks. 9 career sacks. Right?
They say he was misused. They say he was misused. They put him out of position.
It's just crazy to me that guys you're the first pick of the NFL draft. You had 9 total career sacks at Georgia who be straight getting after it. It just shows how much goes into the potential. When you go and run, now he ran a 4.5 at like 275 pounds. So I mean, his workout was second to none. It was crazy. And people look at that as saying how he will be a great NFL player. But he was just as big, just as fast, just as strong in college, yet only had 9 sacks. It worries me. And then you look at a guy, the second pick, Detroit, Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan, had 14 sacks this year. Was the model of productivity. And it's interesting to me. And so I ask our audience, what do you think is most surprising? But I'll also ask you guys before we move on. What do you think is the best model to draft potential with somebody, who runs a 4.5 at 275 pounds like a Trayvon Walker, or productivity like an Aiden Hutchinson in the second pick? What do you think is the model? If you were a GM, what would you do? Like if somebody runs a 4.2, do they automatically get on your radar, or are you the type of person that wants to see it on film?
Personally, I think I got to go with production every time. If you played a good schedule and you played against some real people who are going to be in the NFL, it's hard to turn down Hutchinson. But if Hutchinson would hurt him, he got manhandled against Georgia. I mean, they didn't hate on him, but there's some films out there or clips out there where the Georgia linemen throwing him around. Those Georgia linemen probably gonna all end up getting picked up, but at the same time, he's getting thrown around. I mean, I don't know. I think you got to go production all day long. I go back to see people who have bad combines and then get drafted late, and then they end up killing in the NFL just the way that you thought they would kill.
Right.
If you ran slow in college and you still made plays, then who cares? Hamilton from Notre Dame, they say he got dinged because his 40 time was a 4.59. I guess that's supposed to be super slow. Times have changed, but hey, he ran that same speed in college, and he looked great when he was on film. So that's the way I look at it. I think performance is going to have to be key.
How about you, ETP? Do you understand where if someone does something ridiculous at the combine and they run, a crazy time or whatever the case might be, or they just show up looking like straight up Tarzan? Are you a potential guy? Do you think that should weigh more than the productivity? Because I understand what Flo is saying, but some people might say, hey, there's a lot of college coaches that don't know how to do it right. They got kids playing out of position, right? So that's how people are defending the first pick, that he was playing out of position, Trayvon Walker. What would you put more stock and more value into as a decision maker, a GM, whatever the case might be on draft day?
I mean, I think it's a body of work, right? Like you gotta see the film, but also you see the raw skills, the raw capabilities, strength, speed, all of that. But I wouldn't wait the combine. I mean, there's so many people that have blown out combine stats that just don't have the football capabilities, right? So there's got to be some tape. You got to see something on tape. Like I would be more inclined to focus on somebody that plays really well and doesn't have as much, I guess, high performing combine stats than the reverse, right? Like I have to see something on tape. But there's something to be said, athletes in all sports, are sometimes, misutilized or not given the right opportunities by their coaches. But if you're at the point where you can be a professional football player, there's some tape somewhere showing you performing at an elite level. If there isn't, the combine should not get you into the draft. Like, it should not happen.
Right. And look, you talked
like
about
that's high
Kyle
school to college. Like, I know, like, I played sports with guys in high school. Like, there was a guy that was a 6'9", 3. I don't even know how much he weighed. He was the size of a defensive end. Never played football, basketball player, but was offered a scholarship to play football. Like, that happens from high school to college.
Yeah.
But the college to pro step, you need some tape.
High school coaches are trash, right? 95%.
Hey, hold on. Not all high school coaches are trash, but
95% of them have no idea how to play.
You at 95%.
But also, there's a lot of development that can happen from high school to college. But once you're in college, going to the pro level, like, you have to be mildly developed.
The illustrious St. Thomas Aquinas, the greatest for a while in that area. When you went to Notre Dame, did you, after being there for a while, did you feel like, damn, I didn't learn shit in high school?
Oh yeah. Now, there's definitely
and that's a great high school, right? Great program. So I'm saying
there's a difference.
95% of high school coaches are trash when it comes to teaching stuff. It's not their fault. They're a woodshop teacher, and then they go out there and they coach football, but they're not teaching you. When you get to college, you're like, I didn't know anything about the game when I got here, and the ones that do jump off the board. Yeah, so I see the potential.
That's different than college and pro, though, because so you just pointed out that Kyle Hamilton, who got drafted number 14 to the Baltimore Ravens, that was an interesting pick because Baltimore's got 2 starting safeties already that they've invested in. So I don't even know where they plan to put Kyle Hamilton.
Some people
but you just talked about how he fell down the draft board because he ran a 4.59. All right. Now, we know Kyle Hamilton is a tall safety, but still safety, slender build, probably 215 at around 6'4", something around that, give or take. And, that 4.59 is in today's game considered a slow defensive back. Then you turn around and you've got Trayvon Walker, the linebacker, who, went number 1 overall, runs a 4.51. So significantly bigger. Right, and runs a 4.51, and I guess that's how people justify it. I don't know what the perfect mix is, whether it's productivity or potential by way of the performances in their workout, whether it be the combine or the pro day. But I remember guys that didn't even go to the combine, ran a 4.21, whatever, at their pro day and got drafted in my draft. And I'm not calling any names out, but I was ticked thinking, what at receiver that is, and. I don't know, man. I'd like to do a study on all the people that had these crazy numbers by way of a workout that got drafted way higher than people thought they would and how they panned out. Because there is something to be said about pure speed, especially in today's game. And in today's episode, defending the indefensible, you got to do it with pure speed. I do see my man Glass Bart says that both New York teams got their pick right. And for those of you who might have been asleep at the wheel, which one went? Who went first? I think it was the Jets went first. Let me look at it.
They got that corner. They got the dude.
They got the corner. I know they got the corner.
Let me stop real quick and tell you about Sauce. This man had 1,000 snaps. Didn't give up a touchdown in college. Yeah. This year, he gave up 8 catches for 63 yards, and he played against Bama. That dude is a pick. That's what you call. He don't even need to go to the combine for me. Those type of stats, you're
good with it.
I'm good.
Automatic. I like the fact that he wears a chain with so much bling in it. And they had the number 4 pick. Sauce is look, he shut down everybody that you put in front of him. At one point last year, people would question the talent that he was playing against. This year, they made it to the college football playoffs. So played against Alabama, and prior to that, in the regular season, played against Notre Dame. So Sauce added more to his legacy there in Cincinnati, and he feels a lot like Joe Namath, though, man, with the bling bling coming to town. He the black Joe Namath coming. New York, get ready, because Sauce is coming to town. And then the Giants drafted Kayvon Thibodeau, who some think was the best defensive player in the draft. He's an edge rusher and had a lot of productivity Wink Martindale, who used to coach at Notre Dame and did had several stints with Baltimore, did great there. Is going to get him quite a player in Kayvon Thibodeau. So let's hope that the New York faithful, just because I live here, I get to hang around them. I hope y'all right, man, because there's been some bad football around these parts for a long time. I'm sick of going to the office and everybody miserable, man. So at least y'all can cheer up, at least for today on the draft. Let's hop into some anybody with last word before we go into NBA playoffs. No. You guys are good. All right. For those of you who are commenting, please continue to comment. I know that the NFL season is so long, the draft is just so many mock drafts. But let me know, what do you guys think your team did? What do you think was the best story? Who do you think is going to be the best pick in the first round? Crazy that we only had one quarterback taken in the first round. The least number since EJ Manuel. I don't even know what year that was. So. And it was Kenny Pickett going to Pittsburgh. So let me know what you think about the first round last night. What do you think for the rounds going forward? Give us some NFL draft news by way of the comments. Now, let's hop into some NBA stuff because this is an interesting time of year where the NFL and one of its highlight events, the NFL draft, intersects with the NBA and its highlight event, the NBA playoffs. We can start with just a rundown of where we are. All right. So we saw Dallas closed out last night to beat Utah. That was a good series, but Dallas won in a great game. And let me back up because let me just go ahead and say that I think these playoffs have been great. I don't know what you guys have thought, but competitively it's been great. Even in a sweep, and we're going to get to the sweep, each game when the Celtics swept the Nets were good games. This has been, I think, more than we could have ever imagined for NBA playoffs. I don't know what you guys think about it, but I've enjoyed watching these games. It has killed me to stay up so late and watch some of these West Coast games, but it has been absolutely worth it. Even seeing Dallas close out last night, 98-96, there's just been a real good mix of basketball. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been good. I mean, like everything, especially basketball, but in general with sports more recently, the fact that injuries are playing so much of a factor is hard to deal with. But it's been exciting basketball. But I will say, no bias, the Celtics Nets series made every other series look like a first round series. But the Celtics Nets series, the energy, the competition, the elite play, like that was like championship level basketball. So we got in the first round, we got potentially what I've seen of like one of the most exciting first round series in a very long time.
I agree with you. And even though, again, it was a sweep, I think that was, and we'll talk about it from a different lens, but the fans got the raw end of the deal there because it was only 4 games. But it was good basketball. There was a blowout last night. The Raptors finally just had to succumb to all their injuries. The 76ers blew them out. But even that series, right, you think it's going to be over. The 76ers are up 3-0, and here come the Raptors. Here come the Raptors to the point where last night I'm like, uh-oh. But the Raptors they were depleted. And the 76ers finally had their way with them. But it's really been some good basketball.
Well, that's the thing. They didn't have Van Vliet was out. Even Embiid's playing with a torn ligament. So obviously that affected him. It's just the injuries are the hard part to deal with in terms of the whole playoffs. Because that's the whole leading into the playoffs. It's like, how do we keep everybody healthy? And even then, you got major injuries with pretty much every team.
Right.
They should be able to tap in like LeBron since he's not doing nothing right now. They should be able to hey, like a feeling like AAU. Well, come on, check us out.
You ain't the shit. Yeah,
I'm just happy KD's out now. KD they can have a fishing competition. They talk about LeBron, but it's amazing when you see 2 of the biggest stars in basketball out of the NBA playoffs, and they're super exciting anyway.
Well, before we get to them, because I just want to make sure we at least give credit to the guys that are still in there, because we're gonna get to LeBron, we're gonna get to KD, we're gonna get to that series, because we have to, right? And it's going to be some good conversation. I'm telling you, stay tuned because we got some opinions and we're going to share them. But I wanted to at least give credit to the Grizzlies and Timberwolves because I agree with you, Ellis, that the Celtics and the Nets, phenomenal basketball, even though it was a sweep. The Grizzlies and T-Wolves have been phenomenal basketball too. It hasn't felt like first round basketball. Now, a little more evenly matched. I think that is the 4-5. So you expect it to be an evenly matched series, and it has been that and then some.
No, that's 2-7, right?
Are they a 2-7?
Yeah, because the Timberwolves had to play in, right? They were celebrating. They had a parade.
Sure
they
for the
sure
play
did.
in.
I wanted to think that was the 4-5 because it's been so evenly matched. The Grizzlies they ascended to the second seed. So this guy by the name of Ja lives. Ja is last year he put everybody on notice. This year he's taken off and done amazing things. I'll just ask in general, what do you think about the series? Right, Memphis leads 3-2, but each game comes down basically to the last possession. So it seems, including the last game, came down to last possession. Anthony Edwards, they're down 3. The T-Wolves are down 3. Anthony Edwards hits a shot that I'm like, really? And then, all right, cool. Ja Morant, no problem, bro. Hold my beer. Catches it and does the most acrobatic pirouette to finish the game with no time left, right? It literally just great basketball. And I'm looking forward to the game tonight, 9 p.m. Don't miss it. It's been great basketball. So what do we think about that series? Who do you think wins it? Do you think Memphis closes out tonight because they are playing in Minnesota? And it has been a home court advantage series. What do you think happens tonight in the series? And then let's talk about Ja Morant, because in that last win, there was a particular dunk that people are calling potentially the best dunk of all time. So let's go in that order. The series, who wins, Ja Morant, and then let's talk about the dunk.
I say it's been a great series so far. I haven't been able to watch all the games, and I haven't been able to watch the entire game all the time. So just watching the end of it, I feel like I forget I missed the first half of the game. It's just so good. It brings you in. I want Memphis to win because I want to see Ja play more. But I can't say that I dislike Minnesota. I mean, they're a great team to watch too. But I think Ja, I mean, that to me, dunk of the century. I know Shane Ellison put his name up there. He sent me a text like, "Did you see that dunk?" And I must have just turned the game on after the dunk happened. And I saw it, and I think I've never seen an in-game dunk better than that on somebody. Honestly, he jumped from the dotted, he cocked back as far as you could cock back, and he extended as far as you could extend, and dunked on that dude. Took his body, took his soul. I believe the dude was fined a game check for allowing that type of dunk to happen. That's what they're saying.
He got fined.
I hope he goes further. I hope they go all the way till they see Golden State. But fantastic.
What do you think about an ETP? I know that we all went back and forth about the dunk in live time, which I'm sure there were a lot of group texts that were blowing up when Ja Morant dunked on that man like that and embarrassed him in front of the entire world and his family. But the series itself, I still think Minnesota still has a chance. I mean, they got the same colors, the same type of team, young team. Minnesota and Memphis. I still think Minnesota has a chance, man, because Karl Anthony Towns has played well, and Anthony Edwards.
Yeah,
I mean, I knew he could play. Obviously, he's a first pick, number 1 pick too, and balled out rookie year, but he gonna be man.
Yeah, I mean he already is, right? Like that just shows how much talent there is in the league. The fact that like there's just people are like kind of hitting it on teams and nobody's really talking about them. And you're like, that guy's like all-star level talent, right? Like Anthony Edwards could be an all-star, you know what I mean? But he's just a player on a team. He's a second-year player. It's crazy. Or what, second year. Right. But yeah, I mean, I think the series is exciting, but I think what I love about it is Minnesota's finally like they've had all this talent for a while, but Anthony Edwards, Pat Beverly, like bringing a level of confidence. Like Karl Anthony Towns has never been as vocal and shit talking as he has ever in his career until now. So he's needed that confidence boost. So I'm glad to see them playing at a level where they should, because they have all this talent.
Right.
But that being said, they play messy. Like in Memphis was rolling on teams all season, and they just get brought in. So like it's exciting, but they're both playing like really sloppy basketball, and then you'll see these crazy highlights. Because even Ja's game winner, that wasn't even the only option to win the game. Like he could have dished it and there was a man open right under the basket. So like just defensive breakdowns and things like that is just surprising, but it makes it exciting. And I love the like Ja Morant and Karl Anthony Towns' father going back and forth. Usher was at the game, like dressed like Ja Morant's
They look
father.
like twins
Like
for real.
they look like twins. So it's good entertainment for sure. But and then Ja Morant just takes it to a whole other level with his athleticism. It's crazy.
Yeah, and Anthony Edwards is in his second year. He was in that 2020 draft. But the fact that we couldn't remember second and third is because he looks seasoned. He looks polished.
Right.
He takes all the right shots. When it's time to defend, he defends. I mean,
what year is this for Ja? Third year?
Third year for Ja.
Third year for Ja. Second year for Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
But
look at that. That's a dunk contest right there that will never happen. Never happen.
Never.
Dominique Michael Jordan right there will never get it.
They'll never get it. And that's the new look, man. Generation Z ain't worried about y'all in these dunk contests. They ain't entertaining y'all. They feel as though they've been entertaining you their whole life. We've known these kids since they were 7 and 8 and 9 years old, some of them. They've been on the circuit, been playing nationally forever. I'm done entertaining y'all. I'm not doing this dunk contest. That's
it should be in their contract. You got to do 2 or 3 dunk contests. You get this money, and then the NBA compensates the team for forcing their kid to do it.
Yo, man, if Anthony Edwards is gonna dunk chicken, then you should be in a dunk contest. Like there's a little bit more integrity.
That was a commercial. He got paid.
But you dunking chicken, a black man on international TV dunking chicken into
Generation Z doesn't see it that way, man. You
I know because he took the check.
They've moved on.
You too deep, bro.
Where's my check? Is what he said. But
check? I'm too good for the dunk contest. I can perpetuate stereotypes, but I'm not gonna put you in a dunk contest.
It was grilled chicken. It wasn't a stereotype.
Yeah,
it wasn't fried
chicken. There's never been a meme of us eating grilled chicken.
So chicken and honeydew melon, not watermelon.
Because all at times they both have seemed indefensible. Right, Anthony Edwards and Ja Morant have seen indefensible. I am not gonna say it was the best in-game dunk of all time, though. I'm gonna say it ranks up there. I do love the fact that it was in a playoff game, and if you look at the game itself, that dunk changed the entire landscape of a must-win game. That's a game 5 situation. It's tied up. Both teams are going back and forth. The atmosphere is electric, and you needed a play and that dunk. But Ja Morant's statement after the game, he's like, "It's no big deal. It's a guard. I'm supposed to be able to dunk on a guard." First shows that, yo, I love that dude, man. You know what I'm saying? Look, I got my own team that I cheer for, but I do like that dude to say that. You know what I mean? And this was 2 days after saying we got the iciest team in the NBA while walking out of a press conference. Ja Morant is this generation's version of Allen Iverson. He is definitely a cultural lightning rod that you gotta like. But him making that statement afterwards tells me I can't call it the best dunk of all times because you got guards dunking over 7-footers. And he qualified it for me. He's like, it's a guard. I was supposed to be able to dunk over him. Right? So I wouldn't call it the best dunk of all time, but the magnitude and the importance of that play in that moment is just, I think, indicative of what we're going to see with Ja Morant. And a lot of the NBA is going to figure out how to try to defend the indefensible with Ja Morant, man. It's going to be some fun basketball to watch with him going forward. It should be a good game tonight, so we shall see. What's up, man? In the live audience was my man Kareem White. I see he says not an STA. Yeah, we got good coaches, bro. Your statement doesn't apply to St. Thomas. And also says Heat Nation, my best friend, man, in the house. So I want to make sure I showed him some love. But we got to move on to a few other parts of this NBA playoffs. Let's get to this Celtics and Brooklyn Nets series. Because there was somebody, one of the three of us said that Brooklyn was going to win the series.
Well, Vegas had them 70%.
Not wearing white. I know that.
And even when they were down 2-0, there was still one of the three of us that said that Brooklyn was going to win the series.
And he can't do this with his shirt. He can't do this with his shirt. That's all I'm telling you.
Even when they were down 3-0, one of the three of us thought that Brooklyn still had a chance to win the series. And when they were swept, that one person was attacked from all angles as though I might as well reveal, as though I was a Brooklyn Nets fan. I ain't no Brooklyn Nets fan. I just, look, Vegas said it. I thought the seedings were messed up because of how Brooklyn got there. I saw the basketball. My eyes weren't lying to me. I thought it was a good matchup. But in that series and in this episode, defending the indefensible, we saw that defense still wins championships. In this case, defense wins series. KD was bottled up for the most part. When he did have a big game, it was in game 4. And when I say big game, it was a big game statistically across the stat line. He almost had a triple-double, but it was too little too late. And Kyrie came up small because of that same defense. Let's start with the champions of at least that series. Let's start with the winners of the series, the Celtics, and the formula that they used to beat the Nets. But then let's talk about the Nets, because on the heels of that, there is a KD legacy conversation. On the heels of that, there is a back and forth with the media between the media and Kyrie. There's a recent rant that Kyrie went on, and we got to discuss it. Stephen A. and Kyrie have been notorious about it. But then there's another version of that puts Ben Simmons in fire, in the line of fire, because he did not play. Right. And I sent you guys something that Jason Williams put out that basically said, hey, we all got to back off. We want to talk about his fashion on the sidelines, but the guy has a mental health issue. Let's stop treating it with the same aggression that we do things that are fair game when it comes to cracking jokes. Jason Williams tells us that mental health is not fair game when cracking jokes. So let's go in that order. Let's talk about the Celtics first. What do you guys think? What was the formula that they used? Are they the new team when it comes to defensive prowess? Because there hasn't been really a defensive team that we thought of in a while that has won that way. We have thought of teams being able to win by accumulating superstars and outscoring their opponents, not out defending their opponents. Are the Celtics the new recipe for defense can still win championships? And I'll start with you, Big Flow Show, because I already know what the homer is going to say. You got on a Celtics hat, so you got to go last with your Celtics hat on. What do you think, Big Flow Show?
Defense wins championships, KD doesn't. I mean, at the end of the day, I think we realized that the Golden State was
got 2 rings, though.
Yeah, Golden State was a championship team, and he didn't mess it up.
Both.
Anybody who was a star in the NBA could do what KD did if you threw him on that Golden State team. Golden State will let whoever wants to take over. They're not selfish. They shoot the perimeter so well that you can't clog the middle. You got to close out on everybody. You got the shooters. And KD disappeared. There was so many times in that series when KD went out there and got MVP where people were like, man, he disappeared tonight. He disappeared. Every time LeBron would do something. I mean, listen, I just think KD is trash. I mean, he's not trash.
Hot take.
But who else has gone out there and done that then? Because you said any superstar.
What other superstars have joined the team?
Say again?
What other superstars went over there and lost the 3-1 lead to Golden State and they got welcomed with open arms and given the free reign to do whatever they want? Nobody.
They just the guy who's playing in Minnesota now, the guard, Deshaun Russell, whatever his name is, he came over as a superstar. They got the Canadian, Andrew, the first rounder, who's there now. He's playing a role. Nobody takes over the role of being the star of that team over Steph Curry.
Yeah, but those guys are not KD.
You just try to compare Wiggins to
either Wiggins or D'Angelo Russell are not KD.
D'Angelo Russell was in an MVP. No. So I did not compare.
You tried to. You couldn't even remember their names. You tried to.
Your statement was any superstar could go to Golden State and do what KD did.
Yes.
I'm telling you that Andrew Wiggins is absolutely a superstar in the NBA. He made the All-Star game this year.
For the first time.
But he made an All-Star game. How's that not a superstar?
You're trying to tell me that's your criteria for being a superstar is to make it
What's
one
your
All-Star
criteria?
game? Huh?
What's your criteria for superstar?
The same as most people who are listening right now.
Which is
not
what?
That.
Which is what?
Not that one. So you tell me one All-Star game makes you a superstar.
Bro, you know how few people have made an All-Star game in the entire
I didn't say
history of the
star.
NBA.
I said superstar. So you're telling me when you make one All-Star game out of how long has Wiggins been in the NBA? About 8 years?
That's about right.
And you suddenly ascend to superstar status? But I will tell you this. He made an All-Star game when he did what? He joined Golden State. So really, you're making my point.
No, I'm not making your point at all.
He went from NBA almost bust to All-Star because he joined a team that allowed you to go out there and play. But he's definitely no one thinks he's a superstar. His mama don't think he's a superstar. His mama keeps telling him, "Keep playing, baby. You'll be a superstar one day." She keeps telling him that. So
he's an absolute superstar in the NBA because he's made an All-Star.
Stop saying that.
And even before that,
we losing. See how many people in the live audience just disconnected because
I don't care about who disconnects.
You do care. We do this for the fans. Dude, come on now. He's not a superstar. But you take anybody else who's a superstar, you just being argumentative right now because you in your feelings because you were completely wrong about this Nets thing. But if you take anyone who someone considers to be a superstar and you put them on the role in Golden State, the way that team is unselfish and will allow you to do what you want to go do, they can accomplish what he did.
Is Klay Thompson a superstar?
KD played with stars when he was at OKC, and they lost a 3-1 lead. Trash. Now he's over here at the Nets, and they can't do nothing. He's trash.
Is Klay Thompson a superstar?
Comments.
Is Klay Thompson a superstar?
Absolutely.
Okay. Has Klay Thompson ever been the MVP of the finals?
That's a qualifier? Like, so Andre Iguodala is not a
superstar,
but he's been in the NBA
Big Flo, just come on, man. Y'all trying to take it from
you're getting eaten alive in the comments, bro.
Any superstar could go to Golden State and do what KD did. Klay Thompson has been there the entire.
Klay Thompson is part of the reason why KD can stop.
He's been to every single finals. Has he won the MVP of the finals?
What I'm trying to say is, but he's part of the reason why any superstar can go there because of the fact that he's a shooter, that he's out here on the perimeter. You can't take the ingredient and say you add anything to, I don't know. You can add anything to grits and it's delicious. And I say, what if you add grits to grits? That's stupid. He's part of the staple. He's part of the reason why you can add anybody into that environment that's a superstar and let him be good. You can't take him out and say, well, how wasn't there? Well, he's messing up, man. You're not doing well.
I think the point that you're making before we start arguing about Andrew Wiggins going to the Hall of Fame is you're basically saying like KD's not carrying a team.
No.
Like a superstar should, but if KD as a superstar goes to this elite team that already is a championship caliber team, yeah, you're gonna be the NBA Finals MVP because they opened the door for him and they gave him the lane. The irony of that is that season he signed with the Warriors, he almost went to the Celtics.
Do your arguments for you, and I appreciate you taking
both of y'all.
I was so thrown off by the crazy comment he made that it made me inarticulate. So I appreciate you, my
crazy
brother,
comment because I said D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell, who was
also back.
It's not a crazy comment. I took what the statement you said.
He just throw a snitch in there and try to put him. He states evidence. That's what we call that man. States evidence.
Fair. States evidence is also when he's done his career.
He's also pretty good.
He was an all-star.
He's not a superstar.
Neither one of them are going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Then say a Hall of Famer. You can put any Hall of Famer.
You can't. So you're telling me there's superstars that don't go to the Hall of Fame?
Several of them.
Who?
I think there's several superstars going to go to the Hall of Fame. Hall of Famers are the elite of the elite
name
of
one.
the elite
name
of
one.
the elite.
I mean, never mind. You'll name a million. You'll say like Bogdanovich or who.
I think a lot of great players don't make the Hall of Fame.
Who?
I think a lot of great players that you would qualify in their era as superstars do not make the Hall of Fame.
So let me just ask you, how many superstars do you think there are in the NBA right now?
Superstars?
Like 70, 80?
Superstars?
I'm asking you what you think. Yeah.
I would say the top, everybody who makes an all-star game is a superstar. They're the best player.
That's just not true.
In the NBA for that year. Maybe our qualification of superstar is different, but they're the best player in the NBA that year. There's only 26 players that make the all-star team? 13, or maybe they were 15, 30. You're an elite class. That's called a superstar. If you're an elite class,
I call that a good year.
Say again?
I call like Wiggins had a good year.
Yeah, consistency plays a role in being a superstar. You could be an
all-star.
all-star.
No one's thinking about Wiggins when you play the game like that. Like they're thinking about everybody else on the team.
All right.
Wiggins is able to perform that way because no one's thinking about him.
What I'm saying to you is that you said any superstar can be plugged in
right
and win the
and
finals MVP. You said any superstar can be plugged in,
superstar.
do what KD did in Golden State to
Yeah.
lead the team in points.
Yeah.
All right, man. So let's move on. I'll go to you then, ETP. Celtics first. Let's make sure we give them credit, and then we can move on and get into this KD and Kyrie conversation.
Dude said Wiggins.
Yeah, man. I mean, Celtics. They've been a defensive force for years, So I love to see that they've developed. They got the defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart. That's super impressive. A guard winning the award. The thing that's crazy is you got Jason Tatum, and the Celtics traded down to draft Tatum. Like, so the way that this is all playing out, and all of the moves that they've made, like it's impressive, right? And so it's not just that defense is winning championships, because they're just as strong on the offensive side of the ball, right? Like, I got into a big argument about this the other day, because I was saying, not comparing in terms of level of elite status, but Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum kind of give me that energy of like a Jordan Pippen duo. Like,
right.
They're lockdown defense. They're offensive powerhouses. They can control the game as a tandem, as a duo in ways, Kawhi and Paul George, that was the expectation there. Like, there's all these 1-2 punches, Kyrie, KD, but Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they couldn't figure. They were talking about trading them, breaking up the team, doing everything in the first half of the season. And now I know somebody got a tattoo 6 months ago of Boston Celtics 2022 champions, and everybody was making fun of it. And it might actually happen. It's crazy because all the injuries. If they can stay healthy.
I know you got your hat on.
If they can stay healthy.
I know you got your hat on. You feeling froggy, but wait before you leap, man. There's a lot of basketball.
I said it could happen. It's not.
Well, then go get the tattoo, then, man. Don't talk about somebody got it. Go get the tattoo.
Well, you might as well
come
get a
show
Wiggins
us
Hall of
next
Fame
week.
tattoo.
Yeah, right.
What are you talking about?
If you committed,
Wiggins Hall of Fame tat right on your calf.
Look, man, you said any superstar could go.
I'm just saying you.
Don't bring it back. Don't bring it back. What was the next? We talk about the Celtics. Now we talking about KD. So yeah, no, I mean it's.
What you should have been making is Andre Iguodala did win it, and he at one point was a superstar. Will Andre Iguodala make the Hall of Fame? I don't know. Andre Iguodala won an MVP, which is
so you just conceded my argument. Is what you said?
Crazy. No, that should have been the example that you used.
I was waiting for you to bring it up on your own. I can't give you everything. I can't give you everything.
But I'll say this to the point of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They are only as good as, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, Marcus Smart makes them, because of his defensive prowess, because he creates extra shots, because he's always able to defend the opponent's best team. It allows Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, right, to save a little energy on defense. If you look at how that team is constructed, not to say that they aren't defensive players, but you're saving energy if you don't have to guard KD on certain possessions. That's factual. Like
they have
a guard that is able to guard 1 through 4. That makes everybody else on certain possessions, it gives them a little reprieve. There's no question in big possessions who's going to shoot for the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah. But when you can score 40 points and you can also have 6 steals in the same game, like, you're not taking many plays off. You know what I mean? Like, Jason Tatum, like, I don't know that. I mean, your point is valid, right? Like, to have Defensive Player of the Year on your team allows you to not have to carry the load defensively, but they're all working. Like, that's what makes them so great.
They are, but I'm gonna connect this to the other point is possession for possession. If I'm able to get off the number one scorer and save my energy on that possession, just from the fact that I'm not guarding, I don't have the pressure of taking the defensive responsibility of guarding. We're gonna say KD in this example. It matters, and that's why people who are calling Ben Simmons out is because they didn't have that person, that defensive presence that allowed a KD or a Kyrie to maybe relax and save a little energy on the defensive possessions. They looked tired. By the end of the series, which was only 4 games, I started to say, man, they actually kind of look tired. Having a Ben Simmons there with a defensive presence, I think also then allows a Kyrie and KD to be better offensively. They just work hand in hand. And it seems as though, and even when, what's the big guy name? Williams from the Celtics.
Robert
Big man,
Williams.
when he came back. Robert Williams III. When Robert Williams III came back, they got even better defensively in that game 3 and 4, which allowed, again, you saw the offensive production by Tatum and Jaylen Brown take off even more. I just think it's a well-balanced team. Well, if it's balanced enough to win a championship, I don't think so. Just it hasn't been the recipe for championships. And this era, you've had to sort of have 3 offensive superstars and have a defensive intensity in crucial possessions. They don't have that.
Yeah.
But you think they win?
No, I'm not saying they're going to win it. The only reason that, from months ago on this show, I said it, Bucks Warriors finals, but Middleton's injured. That's a huge loss for Milwaukee. I don't think anybody else I don't think your Heat or the Sixers, whoever comes out of that series, gives the Celtics a chance. Gives them a run for their money. So there's a possibility. Does it happen? I don't know. But their defense can match up. They can match up with anybody. They intentionally won a throwaway game to play the Brooklyn Nets. Like, they are not backing down from anything. So there's always a chance, and they're playing great basketball.
All right. Well, let's move on to this Kyrie and KD conversation. We'll start with let's start with KD. Because I'm gonna use the same hyperbole that you just used, Big Flow Show. I know essentially what that stance is coming from, because you're a LeBron guy, self-proclaimed. You're a LeBron guy. And I think what we've turned this into as basketball fans is, see, KD couldn't do it. Fair. Because LeBron has been sort of in that seat for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It's ironic to me that LeBron fans are the ones saying it, because in this season, LeBron couldn't do it either. Couldn't even make it to the playoffs, where 10 teams essentially are in the playoffs now. He couldn't make it.
He had a fishing trip that he was going to expire if he didn't use it. So, no.
But I'm going to turn this around on you, because I think that defending the indefensible, what we have come accustomed to as NBA fans, as basketball fans, is that's essentially what we're doing. We're defending the indefensible with their legacies. It's indefensible that LeBron, combined with Carmelo Anthony, Russell Westbrook, Anthony Davis, who's the other Hall of Famer? They have
Dwight Howard.
What's the big dude name?
Dwight Howard.
Dwight Howard.
He wasn't hard to play.
Yeah, it's indefensible that they didn't make the playoffs. Not even the playoffs. It's also indefensible that Kyrie and KD get swept. But in this case, let's talk purely about KD. But I think it's a little more defensible because they went in as a 7th seed. It's a little more defensible because they only played, 11 games? They didn't play a lot of games together. Ben Simmons.
But neither did LeBron and those guys.
Oh, because of the injury.
Well, what?
Anthony Davis injury. Gotcha.
Are we debating which one is worse?
I think something wrong with Westbrook. We just didn't hear about it. His orbital ball, something wrong with his shooting finger. I don't know.
Everybody.
It just didn't come out yet.
So you think it's defensible because Anthony Davis was hurt?
No, but it's just to be fair that when we was making excuses just a second ago, I wanted to raise my hand and get on that and say, you said they didn't all play together. I said, well, we got to say that they didn't all play together.
All right.
Because Anthony Davis was without that team. So bad.
I want to know, with the live audience, what do they think is more defensible? So we'll start there. Is it more defensible that, that you can come to his defense? You can explain with some real knowledgeable, objective, sensible basketball reasons why LeBron and his team full of Hall of Famers did not make the playoffs, which for the last 2 years has been an expanded playoff pool. Is that more defensible than KD? I'm just going to go with KD. With KD's Brooklyn Nets not making it past the first round. Which one's more defensible?
I had my opinion is it's more defensible and not by much, right? Like this is a photo finish, but it's more defensible that the Lakers don't make the playoffs than the Nets getting swept. And I'll tell you why. Because I said it's a photo finish. And the tiebreaker is because there were a ton of injuries for the Lakers that they had to deal with. Like I said, this is not even me validating it, but I'm trying to offset it. And for Brooklyn to lose 4 games in a row, they didn't have any injuries. Everybody was full strength, healthy. I know Kyrie was, he's observing Ramadan, so maybe his energy's low because he's not, eating or drinking. That being said, everybody's able-bodied. There wasn't even nobody went to the locker room, except for Kyrie to, get a juice box or whatever. But other than that, like everybody was on the floor. Joe Harris was out, but Joe Harris should not be the determining factor to whether or not you could win one game in the first round against
Aldridge was out too. Aldridge was out too, but
I mean Aldridge's never really been on the team.
Because of health medical issues. Yes, go ahead.
Right. But my point being is they were as full strength as they could be. They had Seth Curry, they had Kyrie, they had KD, they had Bruce Brown, they had their entire team.
You think that's more defensible? Because now you just said earlier in this segment.
I'm just saying it's more defensible because it wasn't injury. There's no injury excuse.
I know, but you just talked about how that although it was a sweep, the quality of basketball was good.
But they lost. I'm saying, but you can't win a game, like one game. I'm not talking about winning a series, like getting swept. Fully swept when you're healthy, like
the total margin of victory was like
I said, points. it's a hairline fracture difference between
they got swept, but the total margin of victory in those 4 games was like 12 or 15 points, something crazy.
Swept is swept. Nobody remembers second.
So a real champ don't lose close ones like that though. Real champ don't lose the close ones like that.
Right.
Fair.
I'm gonna say that I had to be fair and say that that the Lakers was more outrageous. But Chew, you just put up there that when the playing games came, they were healthy and they're all on the line.
Yes.
Really. I mean, they did. Just had came back. Then LeBron bust his ankle, and then everybody was whatever. But
bro, they played an entire other than Anthony Davis. And if anybody who's watched basketball in the last
white hot,
we know he's going to get hurt.
They lost the playoff teams at the end for the play-in game. Right.
I just think the Lakers played the entire season together. So that's
no, they didn't.
They did, other than Anthony Davis, and we knew Anthony Davis was gonna get hurt. He's always gonna get hurt. That's a part of the equation with him.
And look, DeMarcus Cousins looking good again too. They could have kept him. It's so bad. I don't know. They're trash. That's so disappointing.
All right,
but I would just say it's the Oklahoma City curse because Harden is trash, KD is trash, and Westbrook is trash. And wherever they go, they ruin everything. Except the Golden State that just shows you how good Golden State is. He couldn't ruin it. Besides that, they all ruin wherever they're at. They ruin it.
Yeah, and look, man, their team, what we saw, big pieces of that team, Drummond, Curry, and a big missing piece, Ben Simmons, just got there on the trade deadline. Kyrie, of his own choice, decided not to get vaccinated. And because of that, couldn't play home games because of a mandate.
But that only affected their seeding in the playoffs. Like, I mean, look, one of our viewers, Lauren Gardner, said KD's regarded as arguably the best player and didn't win a game. If LeBron was in this situation and got swept, he would drop down. You know how many fights there would be about how LeBron is never gonna be considered the GOAT because he lost. They got swept in the first round.
Well, then start the conversations because LeBron
is kind of worse than not making the playoffs.
Start the conversation. Start the conversation because LeBron's team didn't even make the playoffs with a 10-game play-in. It's 10 teams.
I said, it's 1A, 1B, but
But if you get
You
in the
can't
playoffs,
get
you're
swept.
supposed
You
to
can't
win
be
a
the best
game.
player in the NBA and get swept in the playoffs in the
If you
first
don't make the
round.
playoffs, you can't get swept in the playoffs. That's terrible. He
That's
played with
also
4
a
Hall of
fact.
Famers. What are we doing here, man?
Well, yeah, they basically are at the age to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
No, they still playing. Get out of here with that. They still playing.
But look, had they had Wiggins, then it would really be indefensible.
Hey, Wiggins would have done, like you
That's
said,
what they
just
needed was they were missing
put Wiggins
Wiggins.
anywhere or put LeBron anywhere. He can do anything. The same thing is true.
Quietly,
Look, I would take Wiggins All-Star season.
Take Wiggins on that squad.
I would take Wiggins All-Star season this year over Westbrook. You trying to make
something
a
wrong?
joke?
We're gonna find out something was wrong with Westbrook. To watch. Keep waiting. There's gonna be a book to come out. Something's wrong with that guy.
I mean,
But what are we
no
doing?
excuse
How
for
is that
either
more
of them.
defensible?
I'm not saying it's saying like which was more defensible, like theft or murder.
Andre,
like,
save your fingertips.
They're both indefensible. But if you want me to try to come up with an argument, I can come up with a better argument for the Lakers than I can for the Nets with the two of the top 5 players in the league and getting swept.
Yeah, swept. I don't know, man. I just think
not even like a gentleman's sweep. No, they won the same amount of games as the Lakers in the postseason.
The Atlanta Hawks.
They got as many playoff wins as the Lakers. That is something to say.
Fair.
They both won the same amount of playoff games.
They didn't both play the same amount of playoff games.
I appreciate
they
you.
Didn't play in the same amount of playoff games
and still couldn't. I got no chances. I don't get to shoot,
bro.
You get to shoot 4 times, and we finish with the same amount of points.
That's where we are.
Be said about that.
Wait, that's where we are as a society, man. Just at least I wasn't in the arena. I wasn't in the arena.
He would have dunked on me like that.
Shot. You know what I'm saying? That's where we are, man.
Hey, we got to go somewhere, man.
I don't know how that's more defensible.
So then tell me how it's more defensible to get. You're saying just because they made it to the playoffs, it's more defensible? Like that's the argument? Because they made it to the playoffs?
I'm saying to you, when we talk about legacy, when we're talking about the greatest of all times, which LeBron is absolutely in that conversation, he is one of 2. I will be the first to say that. So we're comparing him to the greatest of all times. That's a big blemish.
Is it LeBron's
and the standard that people are holding KD to is they're saying that you're the best player in all of basketball. So it's one of these situations where if that's the case, you can't get swept. Fair. That means if I go back to LeBron, if I'm being fair, I'd be damned if you put Michael Jordan on a team with 4 Hall of Famers. He don't make the playoffs, and that's the old playoffs, not the expanded playoffs. He didn't even make a play-in. What are we doing here, man? That is crazy. Now, he played well this year statistically, but there were still some times where the leadership was like, yo, what are we doing here, LeBron? There are some intangibles that people talk about in legacy conversations that require you to analyze. Did you make people around you better? Normally, I say LeBron is definitely in that category, making people around him better. It didn't happen this year. And so if we're going to hold that litmus test to a KD, and let's just compare them because we're trying to be, this is a legacy conversation. I don't think it's even close. I think it's indefensible that a LeBron-led team, because LeBron is still putting up numbers. If I put Michael Jordan on a team with 4 Hall of Famers, they're going to make the playoffs.
Right, but if you put Michael Jordan on a
playoff team
with another superstar, bona fide superstar that has a ring, he's going to win a game, one game,
especially a close game.
He's probably going to win 4 games.
It's not LeBron's fault. It's not LeBron's fault they didn't make the playoffs, right? I mean, we can agree that LeBron balled out. He was having an MVP type season, almost won the scoring title. He did pretty much what you could expect to do. It came up short. Obviously, he did bad GM by bringing in Westbrook and AD, and he's Mr. Glass. All those things you can blame him for, but it's not his fault. But when you take a guy who's supposed to be one of the best in the NBA or arguably the best in the NBA, KD, and you put him in 4 close games, and he can't find a way to pull one of those 4 games out when they're at full strength, that hurts your legacy almost more than the debacle that happened over there at the Lakers.
Fair. Because he didn't play well, But if you look, if you're gonna give the LeBron played well throughout the season seasoning onto this particular conversation, how dare you don't do the same thing for KD?
KD, first game was like 1-7 for in the second half.
No. I said the
how do you
season.
defend?
Oh no. But I understand.
How do you
for the
defend,
season or whatever, yeah, they both balled out during the season. But I'm saying when you get to a chance to, okay, we made it. All right,
we had a bad
got
series.
Playoffs. We made the cut. We missed all our putts. We missed all of our approaches. We missed all the greens. I mean,
he had a bad series.
Hmm?
He had a bad series.
That's what's hurt though, because you got 4 chances at this to get it right.
One
4
game.
chances.
Oh, no.
If they won one, it's a different conversation. If they won one, even if they lost the series and won one game,
or if they were just getting blown out all the time.
So how do you defend that? Like you're saying, it's more defensible than Lakers not making it. How do you defend? Because you made the
playoffs. You made the playoffs.
But you're arguably you're in the top 3 of best players, and Kyrie is probably in top 5. Like you have 2 of the top 5 players in the league on your team.
Kyrie's not a top 5
healthy
player in the league.
Okay, 7.
Well, he's behind Wiggins. We said he's behind Wiggins, so he's 6.
Maybe. At least this year.
Like so defend it. Your defense.
I know Kyrie's not a superstar. He didn't make the All-Star team.
Yeah,
he's not this year.
He's not a superstar.
He's not this year.
He doesn't get to play. Harden's not a superstar either. He didn't make the All-Star team.
Who's not?
Harden. No, did Harden make it?
I would argue with you that Harden's not an All-Star.
No, did he make it? Oh no.
He made it.
No, he didn't make All-Star game.
Oh yeah, because that was
he
was
selected, but
that's what it was. They didn't pick him on that thing. Whatever.
No, somebody got hurt.
Yeah,
he didn't play. He was a selected All-Star.
That's right.
They did the draft.
KD didn't pick him. KD wouldn't select him because he had just gotten traded.
Kyrie is not a top 5 player in the entire NBA right now.
Because Wiggins is on there. You can't
look. I'm not going to debate it. Top 10 for sure. But either way, point is 2 of the best players in the entire league.
Let's get to 5. Who would your top 5 in the NBA be right now?
Giannis, LeBron,
KD,
Steph,
Joel Embiid.
Yeah, you haven't said any of the gentlemen who aren't from America yet.
Jokic.
Yeah, he's not top 5. Kyrie's not top 5.
And then Kyrie. I'd say, like I said 7.
Jokic or Kyrie's better than you think he's better than Dallas? What's the dude down there?
Luka.
I think Kyrie's better. I would take right now.
Right now.
I mean,
it's
I
close.
wouldn't.
He's top 10.
I would never put Kyrie on my team, but if I thought he was gonna play nicely, I would take Kyrie over Luka right now.
It's close, but we split him.
Fine,
We
7, 8.
established he's not top 5 for sure, but top 10 he's arguably.
Yeah,
arguably top 10. Okay, look, let's get to Kyrie then. Arguably top 10. Now he's arguably top target when it comes to the media and his back and forth. His most recent rant was, I think, directed at Stephen A. Smith. Did he have a point? I don't have the actual tweet. Let me try to pull it up real quick. But did he have a point? He and Stephen A. were going back and forth because people like us, well, when I say us, y'all too, have taken this opportunity now that they got swept to really drag their name through the mud and say, how could you dare get swept? I think it's crazy that we are so focused on the swept part because I think we do 2 things. We diminish what the Celtics were able to do. We don't give them credit by talking about how bad it was they got swept. And then I think it puts this whole focus on the 2 superstars. And Kyrie is one of them. And Kyrie sort of swung back. Did you think Kyrie had a point? He basically was saying, as people run around, they get paid to just critique other people and yada, yada, yada. It was a stream of consciousness sort of text stream that he tweeted. But does he have a point?
No.
I mean, he has a point. I don't know how many people are going to agree with it, but his point, the point that he's making, the main thing that I took from it was definitely a stream of consciousness that I couldn't follow all of it, but like him saying something about like, the masters controlling and, we need to maintain our freedom and all. I'm like, that sounds great while you're collecting a $40 million check. Like you're subscribing. Right. And you're exercising your freedom, but like, you're still taking that check. You're still part of this system that you're condemning. So it loses all credibility to be like, capitalism is terrible while I cash these checks. Like I
Let's
can't.
let's read the tweets one by one. When I see my name or my brother sister's names getting spun through the media, I refer to all my research about who they are. Their job is to, in all caps, control public perception, comma. All while profiting, not profiling, profiting off discussing, discrediting, and disrespecting people's lives for entertainment. That's the first tweet. A few minutes later, he says, I send shots at the puppet masters, not the puppets. All puppets do is run around society trying to gain popularity and state opinions. What a life. My name is worth billions to these media corporations. My brothers and sisters who deal with this know exactly what I mean. He then goes on to say some other stuff. When you become free mentally and spiritually, there is not much this twisted racist society can surprise you with. My ancestors left behind all of the wisdom and truth for their agenda to be exposed. When you know exactly who they are, they can't hide from their filth. And he included a picture of Dick Gregory. I guess that's what he said his ancestors left behind the receipts. His last tweet then says, a lot of these media corporations make their money by degrading Black, African, indigenous community heroes. They thrive off of it and then sell it back to us by having a hand-selected person or group of people spark controversy about them for the world to see. What y'all think, man? That's it's deep in some levels. Look, I think Kyrie is on to something, man. And we are, for all intents and purposes, with a podcast, and we're talking about, sports figures. We're part of the people that he's addressing.
I'm not racist.
Say again.
My check hasn't cleared by anybody that appointed me here to do this, and I agree.
Fair.
Here's the thing: I think where I get frustrated, I get frustrated with people in that position that get so butthurt about the criticism. If it wasn't for the fact that you and I and everybody else who's watching today and watching the other shows talking about it cared so much, he wouldn't make $40 million. Right. If this was just no big deal and it was whatever, it was just rec, he would have to keep another job and play hoop in the men's league, right? But we care enough that we're commenting on that. We care enough that we have a conversation. We care enough that we're asking for people's opinions and they have one. So you can't condemn that system that made you rich. And what do you expect us to do? All of a sudden now we're supposed to have kick gloves and say, oh, well, he's a human. I'm not telling you Kyrie is a terrible person, should go to jail and he's a devil worshiper. I'm talking about him as a basketball player. I don't really, he makes us know stuff about him as a person. So then that becomes in the media. He uses his platform, which is his right. So therefore, we're going to comment on that. But we only comment on what Kyrie really gives us, right? This tweet we're talking about here because he tweeted. If he would have just shut the hell up and went fishing like he's supposed to, we'd stop talking about it. So that's my problem I have with it is you come in here and you're trying to mix real problems in this country, racism, the real problems in this country, and trying to apply yourself into them. This is what people think Kaepernick was doing, what he wasn't doing when he was taking a knee. Kaepernick was kneeling for other people, and people were making the argument that now I'm making against Kyrie is like, oh, you should be happy you're doing all these different things. Kyrie's just stepped into the realm of what people criticize Kaepernick for, in my opinion.
ETP, I'll give you last word and I'll let you get out of here for the day. As a Celtics fan, when you hear Kyrie make these statements, what do you think?
I mean, I kind of echo the sentiment, right? Like these are all valid. It's valid statements, right? Like I think in a vacuum or uncategorized or unattributed to anybody, these statements have some validity, right? Like obviously media is a controlling force. It's a corporate industry, all of these things. Kyrie's an interesting person because he always raises, or he's in the past, he's done a pretty good job at raising some serious issues, right? Like he's done a lot to raise awareness around, oppression of indigenous people in the United States. He's, speaking out. He's raised, awareness around Islam, all of these, statements and realities of disenfranchised people. So it's tough and it's really challenging for me because I appreciate that he's giving that voice or he's using his platform to tell these stories and shine these lights, but he's turning it into something that it's to Flo's point, like it's confounding with just because his feelings are hurt about being criticized by the fans in Boston, and he's fueling that. And anybody that's gonna stick up their middle finger and curse at the fans, like you can't be both, right? I know you guys talked ad nauseum about this last week, but like you're invalidating your platform by stooping down and then basically saying like, why are you criticizing me? And now you're basically just saying that this is an affront to me. But in reality, the to the point, like it's a double-edged sword. If media doesn't talk about you, you don't get paid. Like that's why the NBA is making as much money as they are. That's why the players make as much money as they are, is because they got scale. There's millions of people that are buying merchandise, that are watching the games, that are attending the games. So to jump up, for me, him and KD, I wish they were still playing because they would stop tweeting insanity at this point.
No, they wouldn't. They would still tweet.
At least until they're finished with the season.
That's their problem. They tweet too damn much. Go hoop. Go hoop.
I happen to disagree with you guys a little bit here, man. And Lord knows that I find it odd that I would even defend Kyrie. But when I read his words, is he the perfect person to offer that look into sports? Probably not. Credibility, right off being swept, his choices with vaccination, he's probably not the best person. But I would say that he made some good points. He made some great points, actually. And sometimes the message should survive the messenger. And this is one of those ones where I do think that he's got a good point. And Kyrie, Lord knows that Kyrie's giving us every reason to discredit him. Lord knows that the timing of his tweet was off, and sort of disillusioned and tone deaf, all the other things all of those things are true. But that can be true, and his statements can be true at the same time. I think Kyrie is making a very good point. And both you and ETP basically said that, without the media, that, there is no 40 or whatever. He said his name's worth $1 billion or whatever he's making on a contract. He's $100+ million man. I don't know that requires us to talk about all the ancillary sideshow personal topics. If we were just talking basketball, then cool, but very rare do we hear people just talking basketball when it comes to Kyrie. And so I think Kyrie's just getting frustrated with it, and I think he's got a point. And there have been a lot of people that have hitched their wagon, that have hung their hat, that have connected their career to the hard work and sacrifice of others. But I'll leave it there. Great conversation. The fact that he's bringing racism in, and I don't know where that came from. And I don't know that Kyrie will ever explain that to us. But I'm certain that it came from probably experiences that he sees. It's one thing for us, and hopefully we'll be at the point where we'll get some of that same ire and same vitriol that Kyrie has received. But we don't get the daily tweets and people mentioning him and adding him and sending him death threats and sending him personal attacks. We don't get that. So
No.
I struggle with defending Kyrie, right? That's defending the indefensible. But I really understand where he's coming from here.
I think the problem is again, it's the society we're in right now with Twitter fingers, right? He's mad. He got swept. He hears people talking about him. You could tell he's been at his wit's end in the whole playoffs, where he gets fined because he drops the finger, and then the next day he tells somebody to fillet him. Coming out into the locker room. So at the end of the day, he's so frustrated, and he's where he's at, and he's just at a point in his life where everything that comes to his mind, he's going to say. And I just think that's dangerous for anybody, right? Oftentimes you ask questions on this show, and I try to pause myself not to answer quickly because, sometimes you got to really think through your answer. And our show is not doesn't have the same impact as some of the words that Kyrie is going to put out there. But sometimes you just got to sit there and think about what you're going to say. Now, I think racism is a major problem in this country, but I think a contributing factor to the problems that occur with that as we're trying to build, hopefully people are trying to end racism and trying to build allies. And I think you don't go far with that when you start throwing it around without color around it and adding context to what's going on, and you put it in the blanket. I mean, again, there's a lot of black people out there that don't like what Kyrie did. And basically what he's saying is this group of black people that don't like what he's doing have been appointed by a group of white people to say that that's not true. That's not true. Again, I'm not getting any check for the show from anybody that other than the check that you keep telling me you're going to send me.
It's on the way.
Okay. But you know what I'm saying? Like, don't do that. Don't try to make it seem like everybody's an Uncle Tom for not supporting what you're doing. Again, I'm sure Kyrie's a great dude. If I met him, I'd have nothing but admiration for what he's accomplished, do whatever. But we're talking about the playoffs. They put him out there. I got to clown you. You didn't win. That's fine, though. Clown me for whatever you want to clown me for that I put myself in public and pay $40 million to do. Take that stuff on the chin and be okay. I mean, I go back to some of the mental health things that we talk about. Part of this whole thing is why you get all that money is because you have to show the strength to be able to handle it. And if we have to show you kick gloves because you can't handle those things, that's okay, but you should get less for it. That's part of why we pay you so much, is to be available and strong. If you can't handle it as a tennis player, you can't handle the tournaments, paid less. If what's his name can't handle it because he's got mental health issues or whatever with basketball, paid less. If you're always hurt, your knee, people have clauses for who have bad knees, injury clauses. People who have weight issues, they'll tell you have weight clauses you have to do. It's a factor. When you're getting paid at the top echelon that very few people get to go, there's a factor of what's going on, and you have to be able to do certain things. And you can't just whine and cry about things so much in the way he's doing it. And I think he'd just be better set. He just took a step back and didn't say anything.
Fair. I just look, Kyrie, man. I think the brother is a lot smarter than we give him credit for, and I agree with you. You got to think about what you say before you say it. But the brother just turned 30 years old, and that is, I won't give your age, but wisdom and time
30?
allows you to do that. He went straight from high school, 1 year at Duke. He's been a pro ever since. I think he's coming to his own as a man. The maturation process for a professional athlete that has essentially been a professional athlete more than half his life. Kyrie has been the best basketball player in his generation since he was probably about 14, 15 years old, right? Or, his immediate surroundings. He's been the best player. One of the best players in the country, then going to Duke. Right? He played like 2-3 games at Duke. I don't know what the exact number is, and still was considered one of the best players in college. He then went to the NBA. So I think the maturation process is different. And I think that no one's process is perfect. And I won't judge it. I think that his text rant or tweet rant was a little more in depth than some of the other stuff that we've seen. And I don't know who it's directed at. I don't know if it's directed right at Stephen A. I know Stephen A. can't wait to respond to it. But when I sent you Stephen A. sort of teeing it up at the NFL draft, I was like, this is exactly what he's talking about.
But you fed that. Of course Stephen A. is going to bite on that. You know how you silence Stephen A.? Don't say nothing.
Yeah, but how many times can you do that?
But again, if you're complaining about people making billions of dollars off of you and what you're doing, and then you chum the water and give them more to make money on, your mama told you when you're little, right? If a bully's messing with you, just don't, if you don't say nothing, they'll go away, they'll stop. You're right.
Did they go away? Because he got blamed for the entire net season at one point.
It's over. 2 more games. The season, we're about to go in round 2 coming up. Nobody gonna talk about it no more. But you're gonna keep talking and keep talking. You're never gonna get the last word because
so you basically say don't ever respond.
I would if I was them, I would say don't respond. Who cares? What are you gonna do? You're gonna stop them from talking? I
think
Westbrook.
what he wanted to do
Westbrook
is to let them
stop saying my name different because it's Westbrook. Y'all heard you think they're gonna say it less now? They're bothering you. They're happy that this annoying people love it when they annoy you. If I'm trying to bug you and I'm not bugging you, it's so boring, right? And if Stephen A. Smith is annoying as hell to me. I can't stand listening to this man talk. I hate his voice. He's annoying to me. I don't like what he has to say. I don't like how he operates. But man, when he can get a rise out of somebody, you just gave him another week's check. You just gave him
Right.
another week's check. You could, disarm those dudes by not saying much, and then people like whatever. But you legitimize.
I think it's very similar. I think it's very similar to his interaction with the Celtics fan. Yes, at the end of the day, what Stephen A. thinks about Kyrie and what he says about him on a daily basis, it ain't gonna affect Kyrie's pockets. It ain't gonna take or put no food on his table. It's very similar to his interaction with the Celtics fans.
Right.
But at some point, when you feel like enough is enough, I feel like he said what he had to say, and I respect it.
That's fair.
I respect it. And there's a lot deeper than people are giving it credit for.
I think that Wiggins is an all-star.
I don't think Wiggins was an all-star. Wiggins was an all-star.
I mean, a superstar. I misspoke. Just like you misspoke when you said he's a superstar.
Tomatoes, I guess.
Wiggins,
man.
you got a fan over here, boy. You got a fan. Come get your mans over here.
I'm not at all. Let's move on to some other topics. ETP is gone for the day, man. We're gonna shut it down with a few other things. I think initially we talked about in this particular episode of Defending the Indefensible. We wanted to get to this Serena news, but not much really to say there, other than Serena is still awesome in her Serena-ness. Nike has done a whole 1 million square foot design center on their campus named after her. East Compton Tennis Country Club. It does connect us right back to King Richard and the Oscars and Will Smith, but I ain't gonna go there. Shout out to Serena. Shout out to Nike for getting it right. Love it, and I think that Nike understands exactly what Serena means to all sports. I also wanted to get to some NIL stuff because this has been a crazy week at NIL. So, and before I do that, let me just at least acknowledge USC women's basketball signee who got caught in a shooting in California. It looks like she's going to be okay. I guess it's worth saying that life is precious, man. Just be careful. And not everybody, and I don't know the nature of the situation. I don't understand the details, but it immediately brought me back to sort of the Greg Bryant situation. Not everybody's going to be in your corner when you are a superstar athlete. You got the world in the palm of your hands. You got opportunities. You got, accolades and a platform. Not everybody is on your side. And you got to be careful. A young man, Sam Bruce, who went to St. Thomas Aquinas, and unfortunately died in a car accident yesterday. Had some trials and tribulations. Went to University of Miami. Was supposed to be a real big time prospect. Just 24 years old, died yesterday. So I would just suggest any young people listening, or any parents to young people that are aspiring high school, college, professional athletes, like, just make sure that your child understands. And not everybody's on your side. Not everyone is a fan. They will clap in your face, talk behind you, right behind your back, and plot to undermine you and do bodily harm to you. So worth mentioning, man. I think the young lady's supposed to be okay, but it was a seismic shock that here she is, right at the sort of the climax of her athletic career with USC scholarship in hand, and this happens. So we're praying for her and hope that she'll be okay. University of Miami is, I think, the center of all name, image, and likeness news this week. They had a billionaire booster step up and say what he was going to do and beat his chest. That's the only thing I said I don't like about NIL. You got a whole bunch of... Anyway, I digress. Third-party payers letting everybody know that they can pay. I thought that was going to be the news, and then you see this basketball player basically, essentially, like using a name, image, and likeness, and saying if he doesn't get a bigger deal, he's going to be in the transfer portal today. I haven't followed the story. Is this where name, image, and likeness is going?
Unfortunately, yeah. I heard, there was a story that didn't get that much play. There was a guy, a Florida State football player, that was refusing to go to the workouts until he got his money up.
Yeah.
This is where we're headed. It's the ugliness is there. I know I don't know if we're even thinking of talking about John Emmert stepping
Mark
down,
Emmert,
but
from the NCAA, yeah, he's announced this was to be his last year. Mark Emmert. Yep.
Mark Emmert, sorry, John. I don't know who John Emmert is. Mark Emmert, he stepped down because he just did such a poor job. I mean, what a mess he created and left. But this is exactly what happened. There's no parameters around it. It's crazy. You got dudes setting markets in different places. People can't compare to it. But yeah, this basketball player, because the guy had committed $10 million, right?
Some big number. I don't know the
$10
number.
million. And he's like, I need some of that. I just brought you guys to the Elite Eight. I need some of that, or I'm up out of here. And he's going to go somewhere and he's going to get paid somewhere because somebody doesn't care. The problem is there's going to be in percentage wise, there's going to be so few schools that can really play at that level. It's going to get goofy real quick. It's going to get real goofy. But then people are going to have a hard time with this money. Now, I'm a proponent of NIL. I do think it was whatever. I do think that there had to be some sort of a structure that they can someone had to sit down and think things out, and they're not doing it, So it is what it is. I hope my son find a way to get some of that money before they figure it out. But hey, we like checks over here. He's not going to threaten nobody though. He's not going no place. He's not transferring for nobody bread.
I just think that the reason that this particular topic made, and I put just Miami all together in our minds, the Hurricanes all together, but I brought it here because in this episode of defending the indefensible, I think this is indefensible. If this is what it's going to become, it was the Wild Wild West already, but now it's becoming the greedy Wild Wild West, where you got these personalities, these characters that are finding themselves entrenched in the headlines that. It's to me, it seems like the athletes continue to get the short end of the stick, right? The story about the basketball player is more about the agent. This agent, the name, image, and likeness agent, I think is exploiting the situation to be the center of the conversation. And to me, that's the indefensible part of it is that, if the NCAA and its respective institutions would have just did what they really should have done from the beginning, or not from the beginning, but when the size of the pool of money just got ridiculously large, if they would have just stepped up and paid the players, and it would have had some regulation to it, it would have had some sensible market value and a strategic way then we wouldn't be going through this. Name, image, and likeness was a scapegoat from the beginning. You bring in third-party payers with no regulation whatsoever. This is what happens. And I throw out a lot of Miami jokes being a Notre Dame guy, but I hate to see that. I really hate to see it because it's going to break up the fabric of the locker room. Because you can imagine, teammates looking at it. Yeah, we all want you to get your bag. We all want you to get your bag.
But you're going to bounce on us like this.
But you're going to bounce on us like that? Like, what's up, man? And a lot of this happened under the table for the longest, but it was in a way that, it's just interesting to see it now, man.
And the difference, like if you think about it, it's become a pro sports, but everybody in professional sports is getting paid, right? There's no one that's not getting paid. So now you're going to make this a pseudo pro, which again, I'm not against it. But when you put it in a situation where a couple people get paid, some people are getting absolutely nothing. It's like the NFL. Could you imagine if somebody's making like a $10 million contract and there's people out there playing for free, absolutely free, nothing? They can't pay their bills. So you got walk-ons all the way to multi-million-dollar players. Obviously, the walk-ons have always been there, but that's the part that's going to get ugly because now you're going to start seeing some more selfish pay and some other people doing different things because when you set the market in the front end, you got a couple of people in their contract year in the NFL or NBA. There might be, I don't know how the NBA works the contract years, but I know in NFL you get the contract year, people trying to do what they got to go do. It's a lot different in that level than it's going to be in college. It's like people like, all right, they're going to start really starting to clown. Wait till you see some of these celebrations, people trying to get their likes up. Start seeing people getting excessive celebrations left and right.
There we go, man. Hey, I would love it. Mr. Excessive Celebration, I condone that action. Go for it now. I wanted to make sure, at least before we get out of here, we talk about the Yankees fan acting all New York-ish on a walk-off home run against the Guardians, the Cleveland Guardians. They started throwing trash onto the field. There's an interaction with the player basically saying, hit me, and they started throwing stuff. Like in New York, like sometimes things get like that. New York is,
It's just like riding the L. Ain't no big deal.
Maybe, man. But, I found New York to be an interesting place, man. Aggressive humans. And the Yankees fans did that and then some. We talked about the interaction between Kyrie and the Celtics fans. Were the Yankees fans out of bounds? And the Yankees players did come to their brothers, right? Because that's all it is in each of these leagues. It's a brotherhood. So they came to the Guardians' defense and tried to tell the fans to chill out, but it seems as though we've been getting dangerously close to going out of bounds for a long time. You know, you had the Malice and the Palace, but things seem to sort of walk back from there. But with social media, with the daily poking and prodding that goes on, a lot of these fans are taking liberties that I think are going too far. And we see the Yankees fans go then and too far and then some.
I think it's going to be like hockey soon. They're going to put the big plexiglass around even the basketball arenas because the fans are taking too many liberties. I think they need to go back to, back in the day, they didn't show the people who would like run onto the court,
right?
Or the field or whatever. I think they should show it and watch the tune-up because they give you quite a tune-up when you run out there.
You saw the lady, the protester in the Minnesota and
they dragged her like she was a rag doll out of there. But if they'd have pulled her by her face,
if you're that notorious for protesting publicly, like, don't you know that they're gonna be watching you?
Oh, that security story. She does that. That's what she does.
She does that. That security guard wasn't watching anything else. They had a security guard posted there, which is messed up because it's basically courtside seats. So from a revenue standpoint, I got to give up the money, put a security guard that is not looking at the game. The security guard is doing this the entire time, looking right at her.
Decent too. Did you know she felt? I thought it was a female security guard. Was it a male?
I don't know.
Whatever it was, she could feel.
We're fluid in 2022, man. Let's call the person they.
Yeah, I'm not making that joke. But anyway, so they run out there.
They're fluid. I don't know they.
I understand. I'm just gonna say the security guard ran out there and felt nice, rap, tackle. But the problem is, see, it's a woman. I don't really like female violence, but they did. When you rough somebody up and mistreat them, you need a deterrent. You know what I'm saying? You need the people to be like, I ain't going out there because they jumped on you, come suplex. You know what I mean? We just are too nice to people when they do crazy things like that, jeopardize this huge $1 billion production that we've got going on.
Security guard was a man, but they don't distinguish. They're not gonna put a woman security guard there because they don't care about
something.
that.
When I saw the person move at the time, my first impression was that it was a woman. But then someone said male, and I kept looking. Not that it really mattered that much, but I was probably more impressed with the because he hit between the chairs, like he met him in the great angle of pursuit. Wrapped her up, and they dragged her off that thing. Like
it's just getting crazy that as professional sports, because that same platform that we talked about for Kyrie, and said, "Bro, you getting paid for that?" It's scalable. Like all of those things are also encouraging foolishness. And I'm not saying that the cause that she was protesting is foolishness. I'm saying deciding to run onto a basketball court while people are playing and living their livelihood is foolishness. Yeah. And they're using that same rationale, the platform, the attention, the scalability to get a message across, and in doing so, making it more dangerous for players. So same thing with the Yankees. Like you don't throw trash onto the baseball field.
Yeah,
you just don't do
stuff. Yeah, those people that they absolutely got thrown out.
Right? I mean, the game was always a walk-off. I don't know what happened. I don't know.
But still, I think that's what security's got to come in there and ban you forever. You know what I mean? Like it's got to be something.
It happened in Cleveland when I was there. Well, a bad call, people throwing stuff down. That was the beginning of them not letting you have glass bottles in a stadium. They had to change it to plastic. I was in Cleveland at that time, throwing stuff down. Crazy, man. If you crazy, stay home. Do not subject players to that type of level of craziness, man. All right, let's get out of here with one last thing, man. I think it should be the story of the week when it comes to sports. How about our guy, J.R. Smith, getting Athlete of the Year, man? How about that? Applause for him. He talked about some of his learning disabilities and how he never saw himself as a student. And he's a New Jersey kid. He was saying, like Kyrie, just being the basketball, darling of his era, and everybody associated basketball with him. After a very successful NBA career, He went on to go back to North Carolina A&T to play golf as a student athlete. Has talked about some NIL stuff, but more importantly, man, he's gone on to do very well academically, and to win that award is probably personally gratifying. But I'm hoping just for the sports community also can be an inspiration to others. What do you think about J.R. Smith winning Athlete of the Year, collegiate athlete,
academic athlete of the year, right?
Academic athlete of the year, I think is the actual.
Yeah.
Yes.
My first joke in my mind was thinking, I mean, you should be able to beat some 20-year-olds, right, in some school. But you know what?
And golf though, not basketball. Golf.
Academics though, like, you know what I mean? Don't you feel like I couldn't do it today?
No, he had like learning disabilities though. He had like,
those are all bad jokes. At the end of the day, I will say this: he's not somebody who people usually have thought of as like a smart dude. You know what I mean? Like. So to go back to school, take it seriously, right? Because there's so many people who would be like, man, I mean, he's rich. There's really nothing for him. There's nothing for him to prove. But he decided, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to take it seriously. I'm going to play this golf. So I don't know how old did he come out of high school to the league?
I'm pretty sure he did. He might have gone like overseas or something. But he was one of
the. He's never, because I guess eligibility, unless it works differently, that your clock usually
he never played in college, for sure. He never played in college.
He never played in college. Okay.
I just don't remember if it was right out of high school or he did some overseas thing. I don't remember.
But it's a great message if you think about it. Like, here he's multimillionaire. He's never going to need to work again. He's going to go to college, play golf, go to practice, do his work. I'm sure he's not going to the dining hall.
Yeah, he went right after high school, 2004.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure he's probably not going to the dining hall. But like, just to go through if he goes through 4 years of school and gets his degree, when it kind of does nothing for him, I just think it sends a good message. You know, I don't know.
They changed the rule right after that, 2005. So a lot of unless they change it back, he's one of the few people that are going to be able to do that. And I think he used his opportunity for good, not only from the NIL standpoint and to go to HBCU. But also now to be a story about how if you commit yourself academically, you can achieve the unthinkable. And he was very emotional about it. Like, he talked about his grades. His boy LeBron gave him props. So, shout out to my man. I love to see brothers reinvent themselves in a way that would be inspiring to others, because while his NBA career was inspiring, going right from high school and making gobs of money in the NBA is inspiring to some. I think he's even more inspirational now because just percentage-wise, all these basketball players at all these AAU tournaments, percentage-wise, ain't going to be many of y'all to make it to the NBA. What he's showing you that is if you commit yourself with that same commitment and determination that you have in basketball, that you can do things well beyond just basketball. So shout out to J.R. Smith, man. I wanted to save that story for last because that is quite the story. Any parting shots before we get out of here?
No, I mean, looking forward to the draft right now. Good friend of mine, Eric Johnson, his son is fifth ranked defensive tackle in the draft. 2 left, so we're hoping that 3 go today. I'd love to see him get drafted. That'd be just a great dream to watch his son grow up and carry his name off into the NFL. So that's what I'm rooting for tonight. Hopefully Northwestern can pick up a draft pick. Obviously, always rooting for them. See if Notre Dame can get a couple more guys. So it's good. It's a good weekend for sports.
It is a good weekend for sports, man. And I agree with you. Hopefully Notre Dame could pick up a few more. The Cleveland Browns will win day 2. That's just because that's how I feel.
That's how you think about the Bears.
But it would be probably best to end our show with this before we hit our theme music, right? We gotta end the show with this right here. This is what happens when you don't have ETPLs to produce it. We're gonna work it out.
Anyway. Show Dunk of the Century?
Say again.
Are you gonna show Dunk of the Century, or are you gonna show
that ain't a Dunk of the Century, but I'm
Superstar?
I'm gonna show the dunk.
Wiggins, Superstar.
All-Star.
Superstar, said. All-Star that's not the criteria. Superstar. You don't even know what number he wear.
Wiggins been wearing 22 since the beginning of his career.
You just guessing. You just guessing because nobody else know.
Shit.
We're having a few technical difficulties because ETP has left and brought all of his knowledge with him. B. Brown is a lawyer, an MBA, Ivy League grad, but he cannot start a video.
No, we got it. Here it is right here, man. Y'all check him out. Make sure you enjoy it because my man Ja Morant did
Send
what
me a
he
message.
needed to do.
I'd like you guys to put in our comments any dunk you think is better than this.
Takes a 3-2 lead in this
in the game. Beat him off the dribble. Yeah!
A jawbreaker! At the Grizzlies' den, it is Ja Morant
landed on his feet and didn't even flex.
2022 NBA playoff presented by Google Pixel. Let tell the story itself, and Ja right there, and Malik Beasley.
Hey, and what do you do? Act like you've been there before.
There, but our Chris Haynes was able to catch up with Taylor Jenkins.
He didn't even hardly make a big deal about it.
With that, man, look at that.
What I do. It's what I do, man.
My man, you know the guy's name he dunked on? See, he won. As long as you don't know his name, he won. Irrelevant. He tried to defend the indefensible. We wanted to end this particular episode. We wanted to end this particular episode with that because defending the indefensible sometimes can be a little more than you bargained for. And Ja Morant proved that. It's been a great episode of sports, business, and entertainment. We did it rough, rugged, and raw. We did it the way that we're supposed to do it. My man, the Big Flow Show, coming to you from the Chi-Town with Biggie in the background. And it's your boy. I got Dapper Dan in my background. B Brown, ESQ, aka the Ball Hall, aka the Mouth of South, aka Mr. Excessive Celebration, aka Breezy. This has been another episode of the Ball Hog Sports Talk. We appreciate you. Please like, comment, share, tag a friend, tag a foe, and tag anybody that you know, and subscribe to both our YouTube channel and to our podcast. And with that, we is out. Peace.